Hello everyone and welcome to Katharine's Creatures. This is a series where we get to talk a little bit about and touch base upon various mythological creatures, beasts, beings, and the like, pulled from lore worldwide. And I always like to preface by saying that I'm not a linguist, so if I mispronounce anything, I do apologize in advance. And today I kind of wanted to talk about a grouping of sisters from Greek mythology, and they have been used and inspired people, obviously, from the Roman culture that came after, all the way to various interpretations today in myth. And this grouping of three sisters is called the Graeae, hopefully I pronounced that correctly, better known probably in today's thing as the Graeae sisters, and sometimes as well the Phorcides, which mean the daughters of Phorcys, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But these three are siblings. I can only assume, based on, we'll talk about their family, and it gets a little confusing, that these particular three may have been triplets. They were called sisters, and they were all born with distinctive features, with having gray hair. And all three of them share one singular eye and one tooth between them. And even though they're called, again, the Graeae sisters, they're not the only siblings. Their parents, which again are Phorcys and Ceto, are two different kind of sea deities, and they were the parents of a whole variety of children, including the Graeae sisters. But not only that, the Gorgons, another set of three, the Echidna, Ladon, Hesperides, and Thusa, or hopefully pronounce again the last one. I'm not actually familiar with that particular character, but going back to these particular sisters, they part of this huge family that were known independently to have names of oh my goodness, I'm gonna try this, Pemphredo, I apologize, Enyo and Deino. I'll put their names below. But they all had their own independent names, but the three of them were called that because they lived together, obviously shared the eye and the tooth, so they were pretty much a part of each other's lives eternally. They were also known to be pretty much so ancient that the idea of a human childhood was rather unfathomable to them, because they were just so old that childhood and being born, and even though they had been born at one point, it's just been so long they can't conceive of that. One particular writer of ancient Greek text, in particular the Theogony, he described them, obviously again with the eye and the tooth and the gray hair, but also being fair-cheeked. So I thought that was kind of an interesting extra description for them. But pretty much their main role in the most iconic myth that they play is the myth of Perseus. And in that myth, Perseus, going back a little bit, went to a feast and was supposed to gift out a horse, but he didn't have a horse at the time to do that. And so he promised that he would achieve any kind of feat or do anything, a favor for his host. And the host told Perseus, fine, you said anything, so I want you to slay Medusa. Now, Medusa is one of the three Gorgons, and interestingly enough, meaning that she is one of the siblings to the Graeae sisters. So it is kind of interesting that these particular trio of sisters have to help the hero Perseus slay one of their other sisters. And I do want to also let you know that in ancient Greek myth, that particular Medusa is not the one that was cursed to transform from a priestess into a monster. In this particular version in ancient Greece, she was already believed to be monstrous from birth. So the other variation of Medusa that comes later on in ancient Rome. So I just want to make sure that distinction is known. But Perseus is tasked to slay Medusa, and in order to do so, he approaches the Graeae sisters because they know things. And he, at one point, sneaks up upon them, snatches the eye away from them as two of the sisters were passing it between them. And while he was holding it essentially for ransom, he gets them to tell him where the three items that are needed in order to slay Medusa are hidden. And so that's pretty much their point of the story, is they were tricked, they were duped. In order to get their eye back and be able to function, they had to tell Perseus what he wanted to know, and that allows Perseus later on to kill one of their other siblings. Interesting story if you really think of it. Now, if you have any questions about this or anything else, post them in the comments below. Reach out to me on any of my social media. Until next time, everyone, Skull.